Hi, welcome to another episode of the Out of Office Club podcast. In this podcast, as you might know, I talk about everything related to the digital nomad lifestyle. So, both the traveling and the freelance stuff, and how to actually work remote, what it's like, all from my own experience. Sorry about my voice, it is still early in the morning. This is the first thing I'm doing today because, as you can see, I am in a hotel room. I am not back home. I'm back in the Netherlands though, because I am in Amsterdam at the moment. I'm here for a very fun project and also to meet a client yesterday, which was really nice. And today I had to be kind of around Amsterdam, so I figured I'm just going to stay in the city for a night before going kind of in between these projects, because usually I'm closer to The Hague, where my family's from. And yeah, that's kind of it. I've been back home now for a week, and it's been really nice. Because also I have been quite busy with projects and I met a client yesterday, I thought it might be a good episode to talk about working with clients and what that is like. Because I know how difficult it can be to work with clients. I also know how great it can be to work with clients. And I think there's a lot of things I wish I knew before I started freelancing that I think would have saved me a lot of issues, that would have kind of protected me a bit more from working with certain clients, and it would have made the whole process, I think, a little bit easier. And that is what I want to talk about today, just because I think it is so important to know these things before you start freelancing, because truly they make such a massive difference. Because I didn't really have that much guidance when I started. I also am bad at asking for help. I did a little bit of research, but mainly I just started and I thought I'll figure it out, which I did, but wasn't always great. Definitely wasn't always easy. So, working with clients is both great and awful at the same time. I don't know how else to say it or how to say it nicer. It just is. I've met really great people because I freelance, and I've met very fun, generous people also who want to share their knowledge, who are nice, who want to include you in things. And I've had clients who treat you very poorly, who expect everything, because I think generally some people tend to think that the passion that they have for their company, that someone else who's not part of their company will share that, which I think is unrealistic to begin with. But some people do have that expectation that, oh, I care for my business, so I expect you to care for my business just as much. And of course, that's just not how it works. You will always be the most passionate person about your company. Not to say that other people outside can't, be excited to help and be very motivated, but it's different. In the end, it's your company, it's your baby, and everyone that's kind of external will not have that same amount of passion. And some, I think, clients tend to forget that, but also many don't. So I think if you've had trouble in the past working with clients, or you're worried about it, then this is the perfect episode for you, because generally it's not your work that ruins a collaboration or a project. It is something else that has a lot more to do with everything that happens before you even start working than what you do after. So again, this all comes from personal experience, all the mistakes that I've made. So yeah, let's get into it. I think something that you need to know is that these good clients, they don't always just appear. You kind of have to shape them to be good clients, which I know sounds strange, but I think I've worked with quite a lot of clients who have themselves not worked with freelancers before so much, or are still building or still learning as well, which is completely normal. And then it's also important that you, as the freelancer, are very clear in how you work with someone, what does and does not work, your own specific style. And most important to that is, I think, the communication and expectations. That honestly is key. And I know that communication is important in absolutely everything, but in work, I think it's even more important, especially when working with clients. When you're not face to face and you're remote, all you have is emails and phone calls. So they are important. And there's, of course, a couple of red flags that I think you should watch out for that I don't think are good signs and that could lead to problems in the future. So when I say communication and the expectation management, I think before you even start working, those are the things that need to be set up, especially the expectations as well. What can they expect from you? How do you work? What are your boundaries? When do you not work? And I think those expectations is also really important to talk about results. Keep in mind that when a client comes to you for whatever task it is, they generally do that because they either don't have time to do it, but more often than not, it's because they don't have the expertise. So they're relying on you and your skills and your knowledge to get a certain task done. They don't know if that takes an hour. They don't know if it takes a month. They don't know how complicated it is. Sometimes they don't even really understand how important it is. So then it is your job to tell them and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do exactly. This is how long it's roughly going to take. And these are the results that you can expect. And then they can still say no or try and find someone else if they want, and how much it's going to cost. Also very important. Because I did have clients who expected results on social media within a month, or thought that as soon as I set up one email campaign that they were going to immediately see results, or same with ads. Of course, because I worked in marketing for a long time. They thought that, as soon as you turn on ads, there would be results. And I had to explain to them, listen, the algorithm takes a bit. You need to do a bunch of testing. It's a process. Everything's a process. But if you don't communicate that in advance, generally clients might go into a collaboration with the wrong expectations. And that is just so dangerous. So dangerous. So just make sure that those expectations are right. And that also ties in with those red flags. If a client has the wrong expectations and they keep saying that, no, it's possible, we can easily just go viral after you post 3 times and that will be not a problem. Don't work with them. Truly, I've tried also to change clients' minds and think, I'll show them how it really works, or it'll be fine. It never was. It was always a struggle then to convince them that what I was doing was still good and a normal process, and that they needed to be patient, or it's and it's so the most annoying thing there is having to explain to someone why your work is important and that you actually know what you're doing. You are the expert. They in the end they hired you because you know more and you know better than they do in whatever task it is. And now they're arguing with you, which is so annoying. And they're saying, no, I think you should do the emails different. It's like, but you don't know anything about email marketing. That's why you hired me. So that is so frustrating. So yeah, you definitely don't want to get in that situation. And that's mainly, I think, just the results. I think those matter a lot. How you work is also very important. I've had clients ask too much, and then when I pushed back, I got fired. There was one client who, the first months, I really enjoyed working with him. He was very nice, included me in everything. He was setting up a really, really nice team. I think I've got a symbol on my face. Let me move. He was really, really fun to work with and really nice and included me in everything, and I really enjoyed it. But then at some point he asked me to be online and send a certain report every day at 5. And I told him, I said, that to me is unrealistic. I don't work for you full time. I have other clients. I am traveling. I cannot guarantee that I will be online every day at 5 p.m. And I don't want to give you the wrong expectations and expect me to be online, because then I cannot deliver, and I know that. And I'd rather not say yes to something I can't deliver on. So I gave him an alternative, and I said, listen, I could automate those reports for you. Every day at 5, you'll get an automated report. And every Friday during the day, I'll make sure that by the end of the day, you have an actual analysis of me personally of those reports. Because even every day, it doesn't really make any sense because there wasn't much to look at. And he got really angry with me. And he told me that he didn't like that I was acting as a freelancer, even though I was a freelancer. And he, right there and then, ended our collaboration. Fired me, basically. He also came back a month later because he couldn't find anyone as good as cheap. But that just kind of ruined the relationship that we had, the work relationship. And it was very sad. But that sometimes happens when you set certain boundaries as well. And I still think that I handled that situation well. Like, don't get me wrong, I was very upset and very, very sad when he fired me. But I also, you can't just say yes to everything. And clients do ask for a lot occasionally. So when you do talk to clients, ask them also for their expectations of the collaboration. What do they expect in terms of results? What do they expect from you? How fast do they expect you to email or reply? Because it is good to tell them, listen, I'll always reply within 48 hours. Okay? But generally not faster. 48 hours is a good turnaround. Or maybe 24, depending on the project. But those are also good. So yeah, when they have these unrealistic expectations, when they just don't really know what they want, or they don't really know what results to expect, or they expect results way too quick, look out for that. Either don't work with them or make sure that their expectations are right. And then something else that I've noticed, which might sound a bit strange, but generally the clients I've had that right from the beginning make a very big deal or problem about the budget tend to be the most difficult clients to work with. Not to say that all clients have to pay a lot of money or that it has to be expensive, but the clients that I've worked with that were negotiating with me more about my costs were usually the ones who wanted to pay only less and less and kept shaving off, parts of the budget and always tried to get more from me for less money. While the clients who just accepted that that's how much it costs to hire me and didn't make a fuss, they were fine, were also the clients who in the end were most fun to work with, gave me more room, generally gave me more budget if I asked for it, not to spend on myself, but because I needed it to make the project better. They understood that to build something and to build it well, you need to invest. And some clients don't understand that and they want to be, they want to get the best. Sometimes my English is just, I've been speaking too much Dutch. I think that's why. For the whole week, I've been speaking mainly Dutch, which is not common. But yeah, they want to just get the absolute best results and the best collaboration and the best everything for the smallest, tiniest budget. And that often simply is not possible. Which is also something I feel when I hire for my own business or for whatever it is that I do. I just know generally more, if I spend a bit more money on it, I will also get better results. The collaboration will be better. It will just be a bit nicer. Plus, who am I to say that what they ask for is too much? That is their pricing. If I say it costs €100 to hire me for something, why are we negotiating? Why are you telling me that my time is not worth 100 or my results are not worth 100? If you don't think it's worth 100, then don't work with me. That did take me a while to get that mindset, and I don't always use it, and I'm always up for negotiating, and I know that that's part of business, but there is a limit to that. And if you're really trying to squeeze everything out of me, I already don't want to work with you anymore. That's enough. We can negotiate a little bit, but if it's too much, we're not working together. And that has helped a lot, I think, also with weeding out those clients that are just not worth it, that are going to be sucking up all my energy, that are going to call me 3 times a day, that are going to ask for a lot. So that is also, I think, why those boundaries matter so much, to say to people, no, I'm not working that day, or I'm out, or I don't have time, or, I'll get back to you on Monday. It helps a lot. And I still find that difficult because I am very flexible in my work and my time. So for me, it's always easy to just pick up the phone or do a bit extra, even if it's the evening or it's the weekend. But I have had occasions where, of course, clients call and I just don't pick up. I know right now I'm not in the headspace to help. I have no time. It's better if I don't pick up and I pick this up tomorrow. Generally, they'll then send me an email and I'll get back to them quickly and I say, sorry, I'm very busy today. I'm in meetings or I've got work or whatever. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And generally, that's fine too. And I think when you do communicate with clients, it's always good to be clear, but not over explain. You don't have to explain to someone why you don't have time. You just don't have time. They don't need to know why. They don't need to know details. That is not their problem. So I think it's good to be clear. It's very good to not sound too defensive, as if you need to explain yourself, or that, I don't know, you feel attacked. Just stay calm. And actually, I had a discussion about this yesterday with my client, who I love working with. I told her that sometimes, of course, I get emails, not from her, but in general, that they might piss me off, or they might, just annoy me. Not just from work, but from anything. My biggest tip then is to not respond. If you get a text or an email or call and you're not in the right headspace, or you immediately feel very triggered and emotional, don't respond in that moment. Leave it for an hour, maybe more, until you've calmed down and you can reassess the situation, then respond to that email. Trust me, nothing good is going to happen from responding to that email while you're pissed off or while you're very emotional. I have done that and I've always regretted it. And maybe a tiny little extra tip, something that I've noticed, and I've also spoken with other freelancers and business owners who do this. Generally, clients, like I said, always find their business, their company, the most important thing in the world. Makes sense. So do I for my business. And it is very easy to get caught up in that, in their stress, in their motivation, in their excitement. But sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, okay, but I can't just stop everything and pause everything just to help you with your company. I've also got my own work, my other clients, everything, of course, all within normal limits. And what I've noticed there is also sometimes I'll get an email saying urgent, super urgent, has to be picked up right now. And the more it happens, the more I ignore it, which I know sounds really bad, but very, very often clients, because it is about their business, they will go from 0 to 100 in a second. It's immediate panic because something isn't working, because something is wrong, because there's an issue, and for them, that is, of course, also a really big issue, which makes sense. But what I've noticed is that very often those issues and all those urgent matters that I would have to drop everything for and fix right now generally get resolved within an hour without me having to do anything, because the client then realizes, oh, never mind, it was just an issue with my email. Oh, it's just a setting that I put wrong. Oh, it's just, something small, or oh, it's already resolved, or I called the help desk from the tool and they fixed it. So sometimes, and I'm not saying always, of course, I check the email and I assess, how serious is this? Do I have time? What can I do? How can I help? But sometimes it's better to go, it's not that important. It's truly not. And I think that's just because they're so emotional about it and they're so, focused on it, that for them it seems that way. Sometimes it is good to just wait and take a bit of time, calm down. And then within an hour, sometimes I get an email saying, oh, never mind, it's fixed. So saved myself work, saved them money because they didn't have to pay for my hours, saved myself stress. And in the end, it got fixed. And of course, sometimes I do get an email where I know, okay, I have to fix this right now because it's either a mistake I made or something that happened that went wrong, or it's in the moment that really has to be dealt with. But that doesn't happen often, I would say. So that's why also it is just good to keep in mind, you've got your own work and your own focus, and client work is important and you need to keep them happy, but you're also still your own business, and you also have a responsibility for yourself to keep your own business running. And that also means that you yourself have to be in a good mind space, and you have to be calm, and you can't just always push everything aside to help clients, because a lot of things I do during the week are not client work. They're work for my own business, to try and grow my own business, and that is really important too. And if you don't have the right boundaries, if you don't set the right expectations, clients will ask everything from you, which makes sense because they've now found someone who can fix everything, who can help their business. So of course they're going to ask what they can from you. But then that's why it's so important to have those boundaries and communicate clearly. So I do want to say, working with clients can be amazing. I've had really great clients who I loved working with, who also motivated me a lot to learn more, to do more, to help them out, because I also really wanted them to succeed. They wanted me to succeed. And that's always been such a really great way to collaborate with someone. And of course, I've also had shitty clients who fired me for no reason, who had the wrong expectations, who asked for way too much. And then when I pushed back, they fired me. And that's part of this. And I think from every type of work relationship or collaboration, you learn. And it is fun, I will say. But yeah, try and prepare well, because then it will actually also be a lot more fun. So I hope that this episode helped, that if you do think about freelancing or being a digital nomad, which I hope you do, because I have a lot more info on that also in other podcast episodes on my social media. So definitely follow me there, have a look. I hope that this podcast then helped. If you are thinking about freelancing, digital nomad life, give me a follow, give me a like, wherever it is that you're watching or listening. Thank you so much. And then I really hope to see you again next week. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.